One of the most dramatic military jets of the 1960s, 70s and 80s was the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom. In the 1960s, Britain's Royal Navy needed a replacement for its ageing Sea Vixens. With the cancellation of the P1154 project, the British government happened to be involved in discussions with McDonnell in St. Louis on their proposal for a version of the F-4 Phantom suitable for the British Navy and the Royal Air Force.
It was look up and look lively at the Royal Naval Air Station Yeovilton in April when the first 3 Phantom Interceptor fighters for the Fleet Air Arm arrived from St. Louis, Missouri. The Navy is getting 24 of these magnificent 1,600-mile-an-hour aircraft. 12 of them will be based here at Yeovilton, and the others are to be embarked in HMS Ark Royal. After the first touchdown, a taste of naval hospitality from Captain Baldwin, HMS Heron's commanding officer, for the air crew who had flown the Phantoms across the Atlantic. And in the spring, another commissioning of Phantom Squadron 892, which in 1970 will embark in HMS Ark Royal. After the commissioning, the Phantoms, accompanied by Sea Vixens, marked the approaching end of an era with a fly-past. And it wasn't long before the first Sea Lord and Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Sir Michael Leffernew, got the feel of the Phantom. Watched by Captain Cunningham and piloted by Commander Anthony Pearson, he flew from Yeovilton at dawn to Allied Forces Southern Europe, Naples, to confer with Commander-in-Chief South, Admiral Horatio Rivero. If you take a day return by Phantom, the world is indeed a small place these days. Admiral Leffernew touched down again the same afternoon at Yeovilton. After discarding the informality of his flying suit, it was back to his desk in Whitehall before dusk.
The only Royal Navy operational unit to fly the Phantom, number 892 Squadron, was commissioned on March the 21st, 1969.
In the Mediterranean, the Fleet Air Arm's 892 Squadron, under its commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Brian Davis, embarked 4 Phantoms on the 83,000-ton United States aircraft carrier Saratoga. The British versions of the Phantom were exercising along with their opposite numbers on air defence missions. 1970 will see the squadron embarked in HMS Ark Royal.
The 892 Squadron became carrier qualified aboard the American carrier USS Saratoga in the autumn of 1969. As part of the deal with McDonnell Douglas, the British version of the Phantom was powered by Rolls-Royce Spey engines. As compared to the American General Electric J79 powered Phantom, the use of the Spey engines produced a 10% increase in the operational radius, a 15% increase in ferry range, better takeoff, initial climb, and low-level acceleration. But the Spey-powered Phantom had a lower maximum speed, a lower ceiling, and a generally poorer altitude performance than the American J79 powered version. All went well with the British and American crews, but with a better takeoff performance, the Saratoga suffered burnt and buckled deck plating from the higher thrust of the Rolls-Royce Spey engines.
Sunday, May the 4th, and a dramatic touchdown at Wisley, Surrey, during the Daily Mail air race, when Lieutenant Commander Borroman brought the Navy Phantom in from New York in just 5 hours, 3 minutes, 18.8 seconds. On touchdown, 2 tires burst, and the plane had to be skillfully steered to a standstill. A Wessex helicopter was already airborne, following up the jet, and saving precious seconds in picking up the observer, Lieutenant Paul Waterhouse, the moment he sprinted from the disabled Phantom. Only when the tires stopped smouldering and Lieutenant Commander Borroman emerged from the cockpit did his wife Anne uncross her fingers and toes. A few minutes later, Lieutenant Dines put the helicopter down on an open site near the post office tower. Lieutenant Waterhouse, watched by thousands, jumped to the ground and dashed along crowded streets to the tower, but the joint efforts of Borroman and Waterhouse didn't quite match up to the world record time set up a week later by their rivals in the west to east crossing, Lieutenant Commander Goddard and the squadron CO, Lieutenant Commander Brian Davis, who covered the distance in 4 hours, 46 minutes, 57 seconds.
The Phantom fighter, latest addition to the Navy's carrier-borne strike force. From 0 to 160 miles per hour in a matter of seconds. It flies at twice the speed of sound. Its Sparrow and Sidewinder missiles pack a powerful punch.
The Phantom embarked for the first time aboard HMS Ark Royal in June 1970. Because of the burning and buckling of the Saratoga's decks, British Eagle and Ark Royal carriers needed water-cooled blast deflectors and deck plates. Because of prohibitive costs, only the Ark received this upgrade, which did indeed solve the problem. The primary role of the Phantom FG Mark I was air-to-air interception, with a secondary role of ground attack. The Royal Navy suffered from an unexpected downturn of its carrier force, which left only the Ark Royal as a Phantom platform. In 1978, because of government cutbacks, HMS Ark Royal was decommissioned, and the last Phantom launch from the Ark was on November the 27th, 1978. This meant the end of the line for 892 Squadron, which was disbanded in December 1978, and its ex-Navy Phantoms were taken over by the Royal Air Force at the end of that year. The Royal Air Force had needed a replacement for the Hawker Hunter in both the ground attack and fighter reconnaissance roles. The first RAF F-4s arrived at Yeovilton on July the 18th, 1968. 2 days later, it was transferred to No. 23 Maintenance Unit. Then, 115 more Phantoms were delivered to the same unit. The initial plans were for the Phantom FGR Mark II to serve in the strike attack role, pending the availability of the Anglo-French Jaguar. The first Phantom FGR Mark IIs were handed over to No. 228 Operational Conversion Unit at RAF Coningsby in August of 1968. During its career in the RAF, the Phantom was used to patrol the North Sea, intercepting Soviet intruders, and RAF Phantoms began operating out of Port Stanley in the Falkland Islands in 1982, following their recapture from Argentina. In the mid-1970s, the Jaguar became available, and the Phantom-equipped ground attack squadrons started to convert to the new Anglo-French aircraft. Phantoms were now available for the air defence role, replacing the aged BAC Lightnings. By mid-1992, the Tornado took over, and the Phantom was phased out of the RAF. This fast, heavy all-rounder needed highly qualified pilots to fly it, as the first film in this compilation, Phantom Pilot, clearly demonstrates.